component of it. So I think Microsoft likes to use the word Linux and Android in an umbrella type way. And obviously they don't want to tell you the patents because the patents might be something like, message of way of delivering a mail message or something. They'll say, hold on a second, that's not Android, that's not operating system, just remove this feature, that's it, it's over. So they prefer it to seem like it more than it actually is. I found that the SUSE deal with Microsoft, I'm not talking about the Novell one, but I think it was around the 25th of July that they signed a deal. They named the number like $100 million, but it's not really cash. It's just like Microsoft will sell Linux at the cost of like $100 million, which means that instead of companies that to do with Linux making this money, it will be like Microsoft making this money and maybe sharing a bit of that money with the SUSE developers, something to basically use them as a tax machine, as a toll booth for enterprises that have decided a long time ago that they are going to use Linux. So that's just the situation where this is what they want to achieve with tax. They don't want to tell you anything about patents.
Well, and like I said, this is why I find it interesting with the Justice Department's focusing, because this is literally exactly what they put Microsoft under the microscope back in the 90s, where they said, what do you mean you're making people pay you for systems that aren't using your software? Like the Justice Department was confused over that. Now all of a sudden they don't care.
Well, I think I heard from a person who's working in one of the universities in the States. He gave me some names and people that Microsoft basically injected into the Department of Justice at the time around the Netscape case. And there's some people changing. The people who are running the place have a certain, shall we say, certain tenure in the Department of Justice, but I think they still have, they get to a point, the next people to be, and I think if they had some people who were very critical of Microsoft, notably, like, Judge Jackson, they're out of there, and as soon as they manage to bring in some molds and to change the fabric of the Department of Justice, they can change the focus and the scrutiny. They can use PR campaigns to do that as well. And one of the, I don't think the U.S. Department of Justice is anymore Microsoft hostile. Is, what happened to Yahoo after the whole intrusion? Like the CTO of Yahoo is a former Microsoft executive. Like the whole of Yahoo is just like a bunch of moles from Microsoft now. I think Microsoft might as well buy Yahoo now. They have to do like an auction thing and probably...
Yeah. Well, the real problem I have with this, at the end of the day, I'm not against patents, and I'm not against using patents when it's appropriate, but the real problem I have with this at the end of the day is what's going on, what it basically means is Microsoft can release all the Vistas they want. They can release something the consumer doesn't want to buy, they can get it 100% wrong, they can basically screw the poochin entirely, but they're still going to get paid. Because they don't have to innovate. They don't have to create a product the consumer wants to buy. They just have to sue somebody who's done it.
What I would just briefly mention before we shift on to we've got some other discussion points to cover tonight. But what I would say is, whilst my expertise in patent law is virtually zero, what we're seeing here, and with Microsoft making money on products that aren't theirs, and people signing non-disclosure agreements before they read the cards that Microsoft has in its hand, this isn't so much an issue of patents themselves, this is an issue of civil law in general. And this goes on in many facets of life, in many different businesses, in issues that aren't even related to technology at all. And it's all a game of poker. The civil law calls are very much a game of poker. What does my combatant have, evidentially, against myself? And you take your chance. Is this court case worth running to the bitter end, and am I likely to get a success? And this has been the way the courts have worked, both civilly and criminally, for many, since the dawn of time. And negotiation and deals behind closed doors would be a natural part of that anyway. And I don't see how patent reform can make any difference to that physical rot, as it were, that's set into the court. That's my limited observation from my knowledge of patents, etc. But yes, it comes as no surprise.
No, you're right. You need both patent and court reform to really address this.
it's indicative, and even if you did, there's nothing to stop any big company going to another company and saying, right, we intend to sue you, and we're not going to tell you what it's for. We're going to take you to the courts. We're going to take you to the most costly court case you'll ever have, unless you sign this non-disclosure agreement, and we can license your products and you give us $5 a phone. Yeah. And a company can choose to say, yeah, right, we'll sign your agreement, and that's between the company and the two companies involved, and there's no amount of reform that could ever change that, even if you made it unlawful to do that. There'll always be companies that will want the cheaper option, and the class of risk is too great to have a costly court case which could break them, even if they're innocent. So yes, it's unfortunately it's a rather sad indictment of the civil court system. So without interrupting both of you two, because it was a fascinating discussion, we have to move on to the other topics we've got. But I think first of all, Roy's got the first track of the night, which he's going to introduce. Yeah,
well, this is Gemma Ray's song. It's 100 miles per hour in second gear.
A long time ago, but not so long ago, though. Days went slow, but the weeks flew fast, flying past and calling us, hurry up. Some people push and shove, other ones aren't tough enough, chewing things over and over inside, then down that chute they slide by the wayside. It's like driving 100 miles per hour in second gear, jump through one too many hoops to prove you shoot not in cold blood but fear. This place is so austere, but I feel safe in here. Feels like a little prison in my mind. No blinds to draw down when the dark decides. Like driving 100 miles per hour in second gear, jump through one too many hoops to prove you shoot not in cold blood but fear. Rain's coming down thick and fast, pressed up against the glass. The cold precision of the wipers do nothing to make our journey brighter. Like driving 100 miles per hour in second gear, jump through one too many hoops to prove you shoot not in cold blood but fear. Driving 100 miles per hour in second gear, jump through one too many hoops to prove you shoot not in cold blood but fear.
Right, thanks for staying with us. I've got no idea what that track sounds like, so until I play the audio cast back, probably when everybody else is listening to it, I'll make my judgment there. So let's hope Roy selected a good one. The next topics we've got, according to my list here, we're going to be discussing Ubuntu 11.10, some Unity experiences, which I think I've mentioned quite a few times in the show before, and PCLinuxOS, which I'll also give a brief mention to. So, Roy, since this is suggestions from yourself, I wouldn't know which direction you're taking, so I'll pass it over to you and you can aim us in the right direction.
Well, first of all, I just say it's reasonable to mention something about Ubuntu, because this is probably the last show we do before the release of the next major release of the kind of the most, should I say, popular, ubiquitous distro for desktops. So that's Ubuntu 11.10 for October. I think it's due to be released on the 13th, which would be 4 days from now, which would mean around the end of the week. I think Thursday, Friday, something like that. And so that's supposed to be the first one where you have Unity in a more stable state.